Hello everybody and welcome to a review of Starship Troopers Extermination today, where I'm going to be reviewing my personal opinion on the game and what it's about and whether you should check it out. And without further ado, let's get straight into it. So the first thing I want to mention before we even start is the main menu. It's a little kind of misleading as to what the hell's going on. The only thing really you need to worry about is your main missions, but with it saying main mission, you expect to find other missions, but as far as I can tell, I haven't really found anything. And there's the Galactic Front, which kind of tells you the like behind story. You get spoils of war as well, which is kind of like what you get for advancing through this story. But when you view the story, it just kind of tells you what's happened, and that's it. So you'd think, you know, where is it? And as far as I can tell, it's basically completing the missions, which unlocks kind of like an advance into this, and that's it. But a little weird to begin with at first. Other than that, everything else is down on your play area here. You can launch any available mission on your quick play. If you are in a company op, if you're in a company, which I have my own little company just to see what it's all about. You can obviously join other companies and stuff like that. You can actually set little missions here, company operations, and then the rest of it is, as you can see, on separate maps. So X11 is a map, Agni Prime's a map, and these are these are the planets that they're on. And then you've got various other things as well. For example, you've got Tigers have increased move speed and decreased health, things like that, which make it difficulty different. And then obviously you got your easy, normal, hard, and I do believe sometimes there are harder ones than that, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But that's basically it. What I generally do is just hit quick play because it's the easiest way to get into a game. But other than that, there's nothing really much else that this does. You have got your social, which shows you people you've played with before, friends, your pending and your blocked, company obviously, which I've shown you. And you can obviously have stats and stuff like that. Your actual profile, which tells you about you. Your loadout, which actually I really do like. There are 6 loadouts. And obviously as you get higher in the levels, you can start adding things such as perks. So for example, I can have magazine bandolier. I can equip that. And now you can have up to 3 perks, and obviously at certain levels you unlock more of them. You then have your weapons, which currently I'm using the Morita. You've got the Morita Mark 1, I've got the Morita Mark 3 saw, and then these also have modifications as well. For example, a compensator if you wanted one. I've got a reflex sight on mine, and I've also got a quick reload mag as well. And then these unlock, so that you can't have like a different, you can't have like multiple sights. You just basically unlock these additionals as they go. And same for this one as well. And then you obviously got your weapon skins as well. On the mention of skins, there are actually some slight customizations. You can change your suit palette, which is basically the undercolor of the suit. The armor doesn't change. You also have decals which go on your helmet, and then you have different visors that you can unlock as well. That's the Mark 1 visor that you start with. Then you can have like the olive one. You get DLC ones as well, and obviously ones that you can unlock from the missions. That's kind of about it really for customization. Personally, I think they could have done a lot more with personalization. You're wearing all this armor and stuff. Well, this is the Guardian class that I've got. Basically, it's like he's basically the guy who'll take the punches. You've got your Demolisher class, which carries a grenade launcher, and as the name on the tin says, they basically blow shit up. You've got your Sniper class. You've then got your Ranger class, which is kind of like somebody who can. It's like a cross between a sniper and an assault. It's quick, easy to get in there. Your Engineer class, which allows you to build mobile stuff. And finally, your Medic class. In terms of classes, I prefer the Guardian class at the moment. It seems to have a little bit more survivability, but they all come into their own as you play them. And obviously, depending on what kind of playstyle you want, depends on which one you want. Again, back to the Galactic Front, which we've already mentioned, and finally onto our quick play. Right, without further ado, let's have a little discussion about the actual gameplay itself and what I personally think about it. But let's put some background gameplay on whilst we talk about it.
Bugs are attacking the T-Fang array tower on X11, and the Arachnid source needs to be found. Troopers of the Deep Space Vanguard are deploying arc scanners to see what's under the surface.
Okay, so we've had a talk about the menu for the game. Now I want to have a quick talk about the actual gameplay itself. Now, as you can see in the background, there is some footage of the gameplay, so you can see what it is like for yourself. However, my personal opinion on this is I think the game has great potential. I think it's following an IP that a lot of people like myself have enjoyed seeing the films, and to actually have a game based on it is nice as well. And it seems to be fairly accurate in terms of the bugs and stuff like that, and how they look. Graphically wise, they look really good. However, I think the beauty of the graphics is lost by how janky the game is. I feel like the game's very stiff in areas, and really it also has this almost this feel of lag, but then there is also lag to it as well, which I'll explain in a minute. The actual play of the game is very linear as well. There isn't really much more you can do other than follow the one quest, which I guess is one of them things when you're trying to follow multiplayer quests and stuff like that. But it is kind of janky as to where things are going and stuff like that, and I think that lets it down a little bit, but not too much in that sense. One of the other things as well, in the terms of kind of the jankiness as well, is the fact that the location markers and stuff like that, even though you have them on the actual compass, they can sometimes be a little bit hard to find. And also you spend a lot of your time running as well in some of these maps, and it's not got a smooth flow of gameplay in that term. So again, it just adds to the jankiness of it, really. The other thing as well is when you have some of these things drop, you have some bases drop, they don't tell you where they drop, so everything else is nicely marked, but they aren't. And if you happen to be stood underneath one, then you get crushed and it kills you. Now I'm in two minds about whether that's a good or a bad thing, because one, it's good that it's not throwing more markers all over your screen and you should really look where you're going, but two, it's also kind of unexpected as well, because when I first started playing it, I didn't realise a base comes and drops on you, because some of the things that you get are built there and then. So to have something just randomly drop, it's unexpected a little bit, but there you go. So, but and also when you're trying to listen in for what's going on, there's so much noise around you that you can't pick up when it says incoming base being dropped or whatever, if it does say something like that. So there's a couple of bits like that kind of make it a little bit of a up and down. So yeah, so that, but again, that doesn't really ruin the atmosphere of the game too much. And what I do like is a lot of the stuff they've kept quite basic and quite similar to what you see in the films. And you know, the drop pods are very accurate. I mean, obviously, but other than the size of them, I think they're a lot smaller in the game than they are in the film. But they do look pretty awesome compared to what they are in the film. So that's pretty cool. So, and the same with the bases, they all kind of match the same theme and stuff like that, which is great. Other than that, I think the classes that we mentioned earlier obviously clearly don't really follow much about the film. There's a lot of obviously things they've had to add in to make the game playable, which makes sense to me. As I mentioned earlier as well, there is a little bit of lag. I think the problem with that is that the graphics can get overwhelming, because you have this thing where basically the bugs' bodies stay behind, and there is actually some parts of the game where I've played where they actually use their own bodies to climb up, which is what they do in the film. So if you don't clear it, it can become a problem for a base. They can actually get over the top of the base. That is brilliant. It's a brilliant idea. However, graphically wise, it causes some problems. And I think people with lower quality like PCs and stuff may struggle with this kind of game for that. I have, a game that I've never really struggled in most games, and even mine will lag graphically, which can be a little bit annoying. It also lags in areas which you wouldn't expect it to. For example, I've been out in the field surrounded by bugs and I've had no issues. Then I go back to the base and the base starts to lag. and the base is only just like a couple of walls and there's nothing much around it, so you'd think it wouldn't lag as much, but it does. So that kind of does ruin it a little bit. On to base building. Base building is a clusterfuck. And the reason why I say that is because everybody can build the same base, everybody can build anything in the base, and everybody has the same resources that they have access to. So if you've got people who don't know what they're doing, they could throw a lot of crap in and take all of your resources, and then you can't build a base effectively. There's going to be 6 of one and half a dozen another on this argument. I think personally the engineers should be the ones who build the base, and anybody else who doesn't shouldn't have control of that. It restricts it to the number of people, but then again you're going to get people who are going to still troll by being an engineer and building it wrong anyway, but there's less likelihood of that to happen. Walls and stuff you can put all over the place, again, so that causes problems. But I have to say, in most of the games I've played, the general gist of the building base does actually kind of get out there and stuff like that. Again, talking on building basing, there's also another thing that they don't really, it's not really very well explained how you can build bases in terms of like what resources you need and stuff like that, and it takes a minute to figure out what you actually need, and there's obviously a limited amount of it, which then affects what I've just mentioned, where people could build all sorts and it causes problems. But what I do like is the actual options you get for base building. So you get your walls, you get your gates, you get your ammo resources, you get your turrets, you get your automated turrets, loads of different things that you can build in the base, which make it very accurate to the film as well. So you got your towers that you see in the films where they're automated. You get your handheld ones, which, you know, you get people like you see you get nabbed by the flying ones. That's one thing I haven't seen yet, is the flying bugs, which is probably a good thing. But other than that, yeah, no, the base building itself is great in that terms, but I think it's got a little bit of room for improvement for that. There are no vehicles that I've seen so far, so there's no ground vehicles, which again everybody's on foot. It's foot control, like it's all done on foot, which when you're traveling can be a problem because it takes a while. So yeah, so it's one of them. But overall, I think the base building and the combat side of things is kind of good. Again, on the mention of combat, the only gripe I have is actually killing the bugs is a little bit janky again. It comes back to that jankiness. For the most part, you can hit the target, and you know when you're aiming at it, it does actually hit what you're shooting. But there are times where I've laid, you know, rounds into stuff, and they just, unless they're right up close to you, it's kind of hard. Really hard to try and aim long range, I feel. There's a lot of like ground shaking and stuff like that, which that's nice, it's adding to the effect, but I couldn't imagine what it'd be like being a sniper. You don't really get a chance to sit still in this game. So I will play a sniper at some stage and see what it's all about. And then it's kind of like, well, you're gonna have to get up close and like fight and stuff like that, and you can't do your long range stuff. If you're gonna do long range, you just get grenade launchers and stuff like that again, which then affects everybody around them because they're launching them, and they do shake the area because when they land they explode. So yeah, it's a little bit chaotic. But then the IP of the thing, it was always chaotic anyway. So the final thing I want to just mention again in the terms of jankiness is when I said about the ground shaking. So when the bugs actually do spawn, you notice the ground kind of goes this orangey colour, it'll shake, it'll rumble, and then it'll drop bugs on top of you, more often than not. I don't mind the bugs appearing on top of me. What I do mind is the fact that there's nothing there and then there's something there. They don't like burrow out from the ground, they just spawn appear. Now I'm guessing this is going to be in terms of like, obviously they can't make it where they burrow out underground because it may be more issues with the graphics lag and stuff like that. But having them just randomly spawn with no puff of smoke, no puff of dirt, no nothing, it's just literally 1 minute there's nothing there, the next minute there is, I think really does ruin the effect for me. That's the only major gripe I have other than the lag. But it's one of them, it's probably just what it's capable of doing this time. Maybe they'll improve that in the long term, we don't know. We'll see how it goes. Overall, I think the game is great. I think it's fun. I don't think it's one that I will probably play a lot of. I think it's one where if I just want to have a Starship Troopers experience, then I will go and play it. I don't think it's one that I'm going to spend a lot of time into compared to other stuff that I play. But I do enjoy it, and I will keep an eye on it in its progress. It does have quite a nice path at the moment on its development. So, you know, there are some things that I've mentioned that hopefully we will see improve. Whether or not, obviously, is a different thing, but they do have a roadmap, which is nice to see. And again, they're talking of things like optimization, a lot of optimizations, additional things for the weaponry, and there's also things like new weapons, new loadouts, masteries. So then, obviously, you can like your prestige levels and stuff like that. New maps, new bugs. And yeah, so we'll see how it goes. We'll keep an eye on it and see what it produces over time. But the final recommendation is whether or not you should try it. If you're a fan of Starship Troopers, if you've watched the film, which I did, which is why I've called my my company the OG Roughnecks, because I was a big fan of it. That's where that's actually where I started when I started playing online gaming. Is around the time when that was high in its publicity. So yeah, if you enjoy that, then definitely give it a try. It's a bit of a throwback. If you want a game that kind of delivers this, then unfortunately it doesn't hold up to the games that are currently out. You know, Helldivers 2 just blows it out of the water. You know, even Space Marine 2 is again, for the things that it's trying to do with its like mass forces, Space Marine 2 beats it out of the park completely. So yeah, so it's one of them. It's nostalgia. If you enjoy nostalgia, definitely play it. Give it a go anyway. I don't think there's any harm in trying it. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Until next time, everybody, take care for now, and I shall see you all on the next one. Bye bye for now.